Who am I? What is my purpose?
You make Pokemon videos.
Oh. So yeah, that's a thing I used to do. Hey everyone, there are those who call me Bardbreaker, or at least there are those who used to, and it's time for another fantastic adventure through the world of Pokemon. So, I know it's been a while, guys, like, a while, and yeah, I just don't have nearly the spare time that I used to, and truth be told, a lot of the spare time that I do get, I've been spending fishing. And even that's not true recently because it's been too cold. But maybe I'll start a fishing channel. Then I can at least kill two birds with one stone. I don't know, who knows? I told you guys before, I'm a store manager now, and you know what? When you work retail, especially this time of year, you don't get a lot of spare time. But anyway, that's just kind of how it goes. You know, gotta work to pay the bills. It's the circle of life. But yeah, I actually recorded this playthrough back in December of 2021, so yeah, this has been a year in the making. And by that, I mean, it took, a little bit of time to do, and then most of it was just sitting in the drawer waiting to get done. I've had it sitting here all this time waiting to be worked on, so you know what? Let's hunker down and finally get it done. Today we're going to ask and answer the question, and maybe someone else has already done this, but can I beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Geodude? Yes, we're going to take a rock into the ocean and see if it floats. So, Geodude is a rock-ground dual type, just the kind of typing you want for a region with not only a water gym, but also a water Elite Four champion. But you know what, that's a problem for future Bardy, so we'll get to that later. It has a base stat total of 300, which puts it on the same level as Pokemon like Meltan, Dratini, or even my boy Bellsprout. A full third of it is into its defense, which is great if we're getting hit with something like a brick, but since our biggest obstacle is going to be spraying water on us, all of which will be special, which we're critically lacking in by the way, yeah, we're going to have a bad time with this. We're also slower than dirt, which is actually kind of saying something since we're part dirt. A lot is going to outspeed us in this run. But the best defense is a strong offense, right? Or is that the other way around? Either way, looking at what we have in the armory, we see it's just tackle all the way to level 11 when we learn our first move with Stab, being Rock Throw. Pretty solid though. No pun intended, or maybe partially intended. After that, we'll end up getting Magnitude, and that's going to hold us over nicely till we can learn Earthquake, and of course my favorite move to use in these runs, Rollout. Self-Destruct and Explosion are really fun, cheeky plays when you're doing a multi-mon run, but since this is a single rock, we won't be throwing it away with those. So with all that out of the way, let's go over the rules for the run. For starters, I'll only be allowed to use Geodude in combat. I'll have to use other Pokemon for HMs and such, but I'm not going to be allowed to use those Pokemon in battle. Secondly, I'm not going to use any items in battle. Of course, held items and items outside of battle are going to be allowed. And lastly, I won't use any cheats, glitches, or exploits, aside from potentially using some additional rare candies to speed up grinding only, as getting to higher levels in wild Pokemon can take forever, and those battles don't actually prove anything, so we might as well save time, which is something I'm short on. With all that said, let's see how well we do in a region dominated by water with only a Geodude. So our adventure starts out like any other. We remove ourselves from the back of the moving van we were accidentally packed into. We use the time stone on our bedroom clock, and then we go save Professor Tree from being eaten by a small hedgehog. And then suddenly, kaboom! That's the sound of the thunderous volcanic explosion that gives birth to the magnificent Geode! We get our magnificent Pokemon from the Professor's satchel. It's not a purse, Indiana Jones has one. And we crush the small mammal with our rock. I decide to name it Where's My Car? Because, dude. And truthfully, nothing draws in more clicks these days than an Ashton Kutcher movie from the year 2000. Once we've got our rock, we're ready to get on our way, and our first step is to fight the local neighbor girl who's hiding out by the trees. And I've set this run up to give her the grass Pokemon Trico to make our run that much harder. At this point, it's a moo point because she doesn't have a grass move. In fact, all she can do is pound our rock, which at this point, we weather without incident, and it's a quick victory over May, and we're off and rockin'. Right out of the gate, we get the ball rolling with our first HM companion of the run. I catch a Lotad for Flash later, nicknaming him Flashelius the 58th. Long may he shine. Before making it there, though, I take another brief pit stop to pick up a Wingull for Fly later, nicknaming him Flapsity the 58th.
Long may he fly.
From there, we make our way to the Rustboro Gym and pick a fight with Roxanne, the local geology guru. We've managed to pick up a fair bit of levels by this point, and now that we're at level 16, we've learned Magnitude. It's our first ground-type move of the game, and with it, fighting against Roxanne isn't a problem at all. Because for some reason, and I've mentioned this in many runs before, rock is weak to ground. I suppose the logic is that the earth moves and rocks break, such as in an earthquake, but I still feel like since rocks come out of the ground, they shouldn't be weak to ground. The only thing that makes less sense is something like dragon that's weak to dragon, or Ghost weak against Ghost. How could you be weak against yourself? In any event, with Magnitude on our side, we're able to quickly dispatch her for our first badge of the game. After that, we start to get into some of the mundane busy work that these games always love to include. We rescue a guy's bird from a cave, something no child should enter adulthood without doing, and then we get a cell phone from a mysterious businessman on the top floor of his roaring business. On the way out of town, we decide to face off against May, but honestly, she's got the edge to our rock now. Even though we're still a number of levels higher than her, she outspeeds us and is able to get our rock wet and throw some grass clippings on it. Both of which, of course, are the most fatal thing you can do to a rock. I do get water, erosion and such. That's how the Grand Canyon was made, after all. But grass never made a lot of sense. Alright, I could gripe for days about that though, and since this May's not a required fight, we go ahead and skip past her for the time being. Now we can rendezvous with the old man whose bird we just rescued from the cave earlier. He agrees to be our personal chauffeur with his boat and takes us down to the Paradise City where the boats are needed and the Mons are fighty. Brawly is the fighting gym leader here, and as a rock Pokemon, we're facing our first gym leader that's a tight mismatch for us. Granted, we've only faced 2 now, but you know what, it still counts as the first. Fighting, being super effective against rock, puts us at a disadvantage with our slow speed. In fact, case in point, I actually lose our first match against him thanks to a Vital Throw. However, fortune favors the stoned, and we're able to defeat Brawly on just our second attempt thanks to a high Magnitude roll. Magnitude, while a nice move, is a serviceable substitute for Earthquake in the early game, but once you get Earthquake, it's no comparison. After defeating Brawly, it's time to get down with our next tedious quest, Package Delivery Simulator. So we get ourselves down to Steven in the cave and deliver the letter that the cell phone provider gave us earlier. Does Steven not have a phone? Why do I have a phone but Steven doesn't? I would assume if not, it's because he doesn't want to be found down here. But why not send the letter to his house on the island later? Whatever, I'm not here to make Pokemon make sense. Along the way through the cave, we catch an Aeron for strength later, nicknaming her by Septicus the 58th, long may she live. From there, we make our way to Slateport City, where we encounter the first real taste of Team Evil for today's adventure. Surely a Team Evil based largely on water Pokemon won't be a problem for our rock Pokemon, and actually, sure enough, it won't. At least not yet, as we're able to bring down the boss for the time being. We make our way north of town and have another battle against May. And unlike earlier when we had absolutely no trouble in the woods, we are having issues against her here. Unfortunately, unlike in Rustboro, we can't skip this fight. We have to face off against her and win in order to pass. She's just like Gandalf, if Gandalf were a 10-year-old girl who had Pokemon. Unfortunately for us, at this point, we're not able to get past her, at this level at least, so we're going to have to level up a bit in order to do the fight. After a little bit of grinding though, I'm able to get the ball rolling. Or rather, get the GEODUDE rolling, I should say. I really am surprised by how much my ignorant child brain hated this move rollout, but now my ignorant adult brain loves it. Time works wonders, folks. After defeating May, we can get our way into Mauville City, and it's time for electricity. And this is one gym we have the perfect answer to. Watson is an electric-type gym leader, which we're not only immune to on defense, but we have super effective Magnitude to deal with him on the offense. After a few swift Magnitudes, we're able to defeat Watson without much resistance at all. Get it? It's an electrical joke. No. Ah well, guess I'll ground myself until I learn to conduct myself properly. A little adventuring later, and we make our way to the mountains and square off against Maxie, the leader of Team Evil 2.0 in this game. It's a pretty simple fight, to be honest. We use the patented Bard Breaker combo of Rollout and Defense Curl to easily dispatch his Pokemon, despite the sand attack from Mighty Ina. And you know what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and not long after we make our way to Flannery at the Fire Gym. Fire is weak to rock, for reasons. I guess sand works and Sandstorm is a rock. Anyway, it doesn't take much for Rollout to victory here either. And checking boxes off the list here pretty quick, we make our way back to, not Viridian City, and it's time to face off against our father, Normal. And when you know it, despite getting some teeter dances from his opening teddy bear Spinda, we actually bring out our tried and true strategy again of curling up and rolling our rock to victory. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. This is where it helps that we're rock type, as we're able to resist the headbutt, which might have otherwise meant the end of us. Fortunately though, we hang on by the skin of our teeth and pull out another victory for our storybook adventure. Yeah, you could pretty much be guaranteed if my Pokemon knows Rollout, it's gonna pretty much be the strategy. It's kind of my signature thing, like J. Rose and his badge boost glitch. From there, it's time for a trip through some tall grass to the Weather Institute, where Team Evil has decided they want to hold up and do bad guy things for some reason. They're a trifle though, and after receiving a cast form for our troubles, which I immediately shove into the box to never use, we move on to our next match with May. And while we don't have much trouble against her Slugma or Lotad, her Grovyle is ultimately just too fast and too strong for us. We're too slow and too susceptible to grass moves to deal with her speedy leaf blade slashing mon at this point. I do try several times, but it's just no use. All this worrying about the water leader in Elite Four, which we still have to get to, and May is actually causing quite the pickle several times thus far. Actually, now that I think about it, a pickle was just a cucumber, right? And a cucumber would be a vegetable, which would be a plant, which would be a grass type. I see the problem. Actually, all it took was another level or two. We come back at level 47 and don't have any trouble at all. Well, son of a gun, so much for my pickle conspiracy. We make our way onto Four Tree City, and the bird is the word, and we make it to the gym to take on the bird. Flying Pokemon. Winona, the gym leader, believes that she can fly, but we don't have much to worry about. Despite even her Pelipper dousing our Pokemon with water, our patented combo of Defense, Curl, and Rollout leads us to victory here too. It's another example of the natural reinforcement of the food chain. Rock crushes feathers. Kif, we have a conundrum. Search them for feathers, and bring me a rock. Meanwhile, a lot of filler material later, and we're at Team Evil 2.0 as he attempts to awaken Big Red Owl from his Big Red sleep. Takes a couple of tries, but he doesn't really stop us for long. All it takes are a couple of earthquakes and a rock throw to plow through his team, but soon enough Big Red Owl has awakened because he hates the color blue and goes on his way. Once I arrive at Mossdeep City, it's time to try our luck with Tate and Liza. They're a double gym match though, so the only option I really have here is to go fish up a Magikarp to impact this battle as little as possible. Yeah, it's gonna draw a round of fire, but it's the best we can do. Now here is where we hit a big obstacle. All 4 of their Pokemon are immune to ground moves like Earthquake, and 3 of them will resist Rollout. This is actually a pretty tall order here. Plus their Psychic moves are special, which we don't have a lot of resistance to. I ultimately try a few different options at my initial level, but I have no luck. Between Rollout, Return, and even trying Hidden Power, we don't get very far. Our Rollout is super effective against the Xatu, but our special stats suck, so we don't have much defensive power here to work with. Ultimately, it's clear we're going to have to level up, so I bring myself up 10 levels to 68 and try again. This ultimately goes on again for a number of attempts before quite some time passes. Ultimately, though, it goes nowhere. It's still not enough. 5 more levels up to level 73, and I finally take them to rock bottom. It's still a page out of our playbook, Defense, Curl, and Rollout, the motion picture. But the fact that we had to go up so many levels from where we were when we got here just proves this was quite ridiculous. But you know, I guess that is what happens when your strongest move like Earthquake is completely useless against all 4 Pokemon in a 4v1. After clearing out the gym, it's time to clear out Team Evil 2.0 from the local NASA franchise affiliate. To do so requires us to have a double match with Steven alongside us. Ultimately, the easiest solution here is to offer up Steven's Pokemon as fodder as I swing for the fences with Earthquake. Sure, it hits his Pokemon and knocks him out, but it also allows us the chance to do significant damage to multiple Pokemon in the process. Soon enough, we have to take out a Golbat and a Crobat, but they're easy enough to deal with a couple of rock throws. At this point, to proceed further in the game though, I have to pick up a Wailmer for Surf, Dive, and Waterfall, nicknaming her Aquadese the 58th, long may she swim, and head down to stop Team Evil 2.0 leader Archie from waking up Big Blue Owl from his Big Blue sleep. Stopping him isn't too hard. Takes all of our skills, and by that I mean it takes a Rollout from a Rock Throw and an Earthquake to dispatch him. Ultimately, he decided the red key was what he needed for the blue dungeon, and that's the end of that. And by that I mean it causes world-ending calamity. Fortunately, we know the answer to the equation red plus blue equals world-ending calamity, and that is to add green. So if you ever spill red and blue paint, just a dash of green is all you need to clean it up. And now that we've saved the world, we're able to take on the final gym. Water the Wand gym leader is waiting for us. And you'd actually think this might be hard for us, but it really isn't that bad. I don't have nearly as hard a time here as I would have thought I would have. It only takes a few tries, in fact. And you know what? Love Disc water moves really didn't do that much damage to us. I guess we're stronger against water than I thought. I'm sure that statement's not going to come back to bite us in the butt anytime soon. We head through Victory Road on our last adventure before the Elite Four, and to what do my wandering eyes do appear but little Wally trying to stop us from getting to our reindeer. And what do you know? Our Earthquakes make super short work of his team. It's almost as if having one of the strongest moves with the same type attack bonus at this level clear-cuts entire forests of opponents before us. Everything out of the way, it's time for the Elite Four, and we make our way into battle against Sydney, a Dark-type specialist. And you know what? He actually stops us cold. I try multiple attempts, it just doesn't work. By the time I get to his Crawdaunt, it's just doing us in with Surf. His Mightyene is a bear. Well, not really a bear, because then it'd be an Ursaring. But anyway, it uses Sand Attack over and over, and it just chunks our accuracy. Since we make no visible progress after multiple attempts, it's time for a little Vitamin RC. but even up to level 80, we're still not doing much. In fact, on one attempt at this newer level, we don't even get past the mighty Hoenn. Again, being quad weak to water is just too darn much to deal with. I didn't even think Sydney would be a problem, but we still have the water leader coming. Finally, at level 85, I reach a breakthrough. I'm able to land enough earthquakes and get through Sydney's team. It's kind of anticlimactic, but you know what? It just spam earthquake to win. I guess it works. That definitely doesn't bode well for what's to come, though. I knew this was going to be challenging, but I'm definitely beginning to worry if this Crawdaunt was that bad. Once we get to Wallace, we're going to have a bad time. Phoebe, the ghost leader, is next, and there's really not much to go over here. It's pretty straightforward battle. We land rock throws to beat her entire team without really putting up much resistance. Who'd have thought that the answer to ghosts was just throwing rocks at them? After a grueling struggle to start the Elite Four, it's nice to have a breeze of a battle to follow up, though. Next up is Glacia, the Ice Trainer, and she does have a couple of water Pokemon, so she does pose a bit of a challenge. Ultimately, it's the matter of finding the right stroke of luck, though, but I guess you could say that about most of the game. Fortunately for us, Ice is weak to rock. For some reason, that one I don't get. Why? If anything, you'd think it would be the other way around, since freezing water can crack rocks, but anyway, we're gonna go down this rabbit hole again. A couple of tries later, we're able to use some super effective rollouts and just plain brute force earthquakes to deal with her team. Last up is Silver Daddy Drake, and because the game loves to throw curveballs at us, he has a Kingdra. So I get it, he's a dragon trainer, and Kingdra's a dragon Pokemon, but it's still annoying to deal with as it's constantly ending our attempts with Surf. With a number of attempts, we're able to get our way to his final Pokemon Salamence a few times, but it's just not enough. I try it over and over and over and over, but nothing seems to work here. Kingdra's Surf is just too much, and the off chance we get to Salamence, it takes us out. I decide to boost up to level 90 and keep trying, but much like before, with very little success. Finally, though, I get a lucky attempt where I wind up moving first against the Kingdra, and that gives us the edge we need to take it down with a rollout. It also helps that the Shelgon didn't chunk our speed we have with Rock Tomb, but hey, I'll take it. Rollout and Defense Curl proved all we needed, once combined with a little bit of fortuitous luck from the AI missing. If that Kingdra was that much trouble, imagine what a full squad of even stronger water Pokemon are going to do. Well, how fortunate for you! You don't have to wait, as that time is right now! Wallace the Water Master is up last, and now you can fully see just how bad this is. It starts off swimmingly enough, though, as we can one-shot the Wailord with Earthquake, but then we get one-shot with Hydro Pump right behind it from Tentacruel every time. We can't really set up a rollout against the Wailord because it'll hit us with Water Spout and then take us down immediately. The only real play we have is to brute force it with Earthquake and hope Tentacruel then misses with Hydro Pump. That doesn't seem very likely to happen. In fact, it's only 20% likely to happen, given Hydro Pump has an 80% accuracy. And even supposing it does happen, the bloody Milotic right behind that takes us out with one shot. We don't stand a chance, unless things go absolutely perfectly. After dozens of attempts, I do finally get past the Milotic after pushing to level 95 and seize Ludicolo. Unfortunately, it weathered an attack and then knocked me right out. Okay. We finally got to the Ludicolo, and there's still 2 more Pokemon to go that we haven't even seen yet. Oh boy. I decided to go ahead and do what must be done at this point and max out to level 100. It's been a while since I've had to do that. Well, it's been a while since I've had to do anything on this channel, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, with getting to level 100, it's actually good news. We're now fast enough to outspeed both the Wailord that we were already outspeeding, but also the Tentacruel, at least most of the time. So it looks like it might be a speed tie, but whatever, I'll take it. That's a third of his team now we're able to deal with reliably, and now we only have to really worry about 4. With that being said, now it's ultimately up to whether the Milotic misses or not at this point, or if we win a speed tie and go first. The Ludicolo is still a problem though, as we can't outspeed it or one-shot it without a crit, so it just takes us down. We just have to keep trying. And I try for dozens and dozens of times. At some point I decide to drop Defense Curl for return, as we really don't have a chance to even set up rollouts at this point, so we might as well use something else. Eventually that does seem to make things take a turn for the better. We are finally able to get past the Milotic and then take down Ludicolo with a single return. After that is a Wish Cache, which is easy enough to deal with a single Earthquake, and that just leaves Gyarados. It's part flying, for some reason, but you know what, I'm not going to question it this time if it helps us. We start using Rock Throw for a super effective move, and we actually survive an attack. He starts healing and we go back and forth before finally losing the squabble. But that critically showed me that this fight can be done. If we can get to the Gyarados, and that is technically a big if, a critical hit will end it. Finally, after dozens and dozens of more attempts, we get this run. Wailord goes down to an earthquake as it has been all this time. Tentacruel, being part poison type, then goes down to a super effective earthquake. There's another type matchup I don't understand. Out comes the Milotic, which also goes down to another earthquake. Ludicolo comes out to try and stop us, but we take it down with a return. Wishcash comes out, and I think this is only the third time I've gotten this far, but we take it down with an earthquake. We're finally almost done as out comes out Gyarados. Intimidate cuts our attack, which is a problem. It hits us with a Surf, which brings us all the way down to 17 health from 245. We hit back with Rock Throw, which brings it to the red. Wallace then full restores it, and we throw another pile of rocks back. This salvo lands a critical hit. It one-shots the Gyarados, thereby securing us the win. I'm not even joking when I tell you that this took over an hour of attempts, at 4 times speed up to even attempt it. At the end of the day, Emil from my Discord went back and rewatched the stream where I did this, and he counted up at least 137 attempts. Truthfully, I feel like it was more, but there were at least 137 attempts to get past Wallace. This goes right up there with trying to beat, I think it was Leaf Green with a Sunkern. That took 100 and something tries too, if not more. Things had to go exactly right here. RNGesus had to be with us, but at the end of the day, he was, and allowed us to beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Geodude. Now, the stream wouldn't let me leave until I at least attempted the post-game fight against Steven Stone. Unfortunately, suffice to say, it's not even remotely happening. Between getting Toxicked and his Pokemon being a hell of a lot stronger than me, we don't even come close. And there is absolutely 0 point in playing for another 137 more attempts, hoping for crits every time, which wouldn't even be enough to win to begin with. Yeah, so Geodude can't beat the post-game fight with Steven, but we sure beat everything else. That was Pokemon Emerald with only a Geodude. Thanks for watching, guys. Like I said earlier, I know I haven't been active very much. I do still hang out in my Discord now and again, but it's kind of quiet in there, but please come by and say hi. Like I said, it's hard to find time to put videos together anymore, but hey, at least I got this one out. Swing by the Discord, guys, and say hey, drop a comment down below, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time, whenever that may end up being, go catch 'em all.